Hi, welcome to Facebook Live, but actually this is pre-recorded. I'm Liz Holpin from Pinhole Quilting, and here we have Pauline Jameson, who also works for Pinhole Quilting, but is one of our customers too. So welcome, Pauline.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we've been talking about doing this because it's actually something that, with pantographs, which is our focus today, something that Pauline does quite a lot.
So, I certainly have. In the past, I've done quite a few in my time. Yeah. I think I've lost count, really, of the number I've done. But
yes. So for those of you who order from us at Pinhole Quilting, you may not realise, but Pauline is behind the scenes dispatching the orders. But in her leisure time, you're very much a quilter. Very, very much a quilter, aren't you?
Yeah.
So just tell us a bit about your quilting.
My husband thinks I'm obsessive, but well, I think it's his way of teasing me, to be honest. But there you go. Yes, I've been, I started quilting really when I retired, so that's 10 years ago now. Yes. I can't believe it. Yeah. I joined a quilting group back in London, and I learnt the basics of patchwork. And when I'd made, or what I considered to be a gorgeous quilt, I felt that I was cheating if I passed it over to somebody else to quilt. So that's really what sucked me into quilting. And then a friend of mine introduced me to Jan Batho, who had a handy quilter up in her attic.
That's right.
We had to climb up this narrow staircase to get into it. Oh my Lord. And that was it. I was hooked. Once I'd seen that, I just knew that I had to get one. So it was meant to be, Liz, because when we moved to Worcestershire, and about a year in, my husband said, well, what about this long arm quilting machine that you want? And I knew that Jan had got it from Birmingham, from Cotton Patch. And I thought, okay, well, I'll just look it up. And I couldn't believe it. You were, what, 5 miles or less down the road from where we'd moved to. So it was meant to be.
It was meant to be, because we'd moved as well, because we were part of Cotton Patch. I was part of Cotton Patch and have been doing handy quilts since 2010. Jan, as Pauline said, was one of our customers. I remember Alan doing the installation and going up the ladder and putting it in the loft. So Jan, who quilts, is the English quilter, I think.
She's the English quilter.
So she quilts for other people. So when you moved here, we had also moved down to Worcestershire too. What a beautiful part of the world to be in.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, we love it here, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Best place to be. Yes, it's gorgeous. And a gorgeous day today, it's even better.
It is. Yes. So in terms of the quilting that you've been doing, you're part of a group. So just tell us a little bit about the group and the kind of quilts that you make.
Yes, well, that sort of developed into what we are known as now, which is the Comberton Quilters, simply because I live in Little Comberton. That was why I got the name.
By the way.
And there are 10 of us in the group now. Yeah. And of the 10, 7 of us have got handy quilter long arm machines. So I think we're pretty exceptional as a quilting group, really.
I think you are. So I don't know of any other group in the UK that has 70% of their members with a long arm.
Yes.
It's pretty unusual. So.
And we have every ability from really fabulous quilters, because Marlene Chaffee is in our group, and she's just a beautiful quilter, as is Jan. Yes. She's just done a gorgeous quilt for us, which we're going to be entering at Festival this year. Brilliant. And then Nikki, myself, Caroline, and Anne and Susan. So we're all 2 sit-down machines.
Yes.
And we get together once a month, and we make a collaborative quilt. We take it in turns to lead the group. So you have to prepare everything before you come.
So you take it in turns to do that. So
we do.
Yeah, that's a really nice way of doing it. Yeah.
So of the 10 of us, 1 month is Christmas that you attend.
Yes. I come for the Christmas party.
And 1 month is probably catching up. So that leaves 10 months, and we each take a month. Yeah. And we've been given an awful lot of fabric from various sources. So the girls just have a good look at that. We tend to purchase background fabric, and they lead it. And then one of us will quilt it, whoever doesn't have too much on at the time. Yes. So that's one side of the things that I do, and we've become such good friends. It's not just the quilting anymore, but we have a really good show and tell session. How did you do this, or how should I quilt this one? Not necessarily a quilt for the Comberton Quilters, which are charity quilts. We make them for charity. But our personal quilts, we'll have a really good chat about that. And we now have outings, thanks to Sandra Heath, who is our social secretary, and takes us off to lots of places. So I think we're a really vibrant group, really exciting group.
It is. I think the range of abilities is really an interesting part of the group, because you've all come about it from different angles from your past experiences.
Yeah.
But as Pauline said, Marlene Chaffee was originally a quilter and an owner of Handy Quilter down in the southwest.
Yes.
And then she relocated to be closer to her family up here during COVID. And then actually, I think Pete had put you in touch with Marlene, and she's now become part of the group.
Yes.
And the thing about quilt groups and certainly your group is that support mechanism. It goes beyond the quilting, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. Yes, definitely.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's all part of the kind of the quilting groups and the way that people are who are quilters. I think there's a very supportive group. And Sandra is without a doubt an incredible social secretary. Because your outings, when I've got more time, I'd love to come on some of your outings.
Oh yeah, we've just been to Hidcote Manor last month, and
beautiful.
we're off to Snows Hill this month. And there's going to be an exhibition of costumes there. So we're going to be doing that. They're a really great bunch, and Ginny joined us as well a while ago, and her background is interior design, sort of making curtains and so on.
And botanical painting.
Yes, she's so talented. Yeah, she really is.
Yeah, I've seen some of her work and just blew me away with her talent.
Yeah, and Elaine is talented too. She was a dressmaker.
She was a dressmaker.
So we've just, we've got so many skills.
You do.
And that's the nice thing about getting different people to lead the project each month, because we each bring something different.
Yes.
Some people love very bright colours, others like more subdued colours. So you're getting different styles and different designs, and it's just very, it's a lovely group to be in.
And I mean successes as well, because Comberton Quilters won the group quilt, the Festival of Quilts. Was it 2 years ago?
Yes, it was. Yes.
2 years ago, with a beautiful. It was the originally an Editor.
That's right.
Design, wasn't it? But quilted beautifully by Marlene.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
So an award-winning Festival of Quilts group, and then got a runner-up for the Beatles quilt.
We did the Beatles Let It Quilt. We called it.
Yeah, Let It Quilt.
Which you took part in. Yes,
I actually did.
Lovely block in that.
I did a block.
Yeah, that's what's lovely about it, because that sort of thing, everybody can do their own design and bring it all together, which was quite exciting.
That's really good.
Yep.
So one of the things that we wanted to focus on in this session, and obviously talking about the quilts that you make for the charity, was because last week in June we ran the first ever Quilt Your Own Quilt. And Pauline was very good. She helped us in terms of the preparation and stuff for that. So what I thought we would do is look at some of the quilts that you've quilted. For those people who are not aware what a pantograph is, let's just run through some of the results of pantographs, then we'll explain how you do them. So let's go through some of your beautiful quilts that you brought along. Some of them are using the same designs that we did on the Quilt Your Own Quilt Day. Yeah. So do you want to talk your way through?
Well, these quilts actually were sent to me by Quilts for Care Leavers. So I have been one of their long arm quilters for a while. And so pantographs were really important, because I would be sent 10 quilts at a time, and they're sort of sitting there singing at you, quilt me. And so I wanted to be able to quilt quickly and it look as good as I could possibly make it. So these ones are the latest ones, this one, and this one. And the one behind is actually a Comberton Quilters one, which I'll tell you about afterwards.
Yes.
So that's really what made me start to do pantographs, because I didn't want to have to spend hours looking at the quilt, trying to decide what to quilt, and then taking ages, because I can spend 2 weeks easily just on one quilt.
Yes.
Well, you can't do that really if you're doing it for charity. So it has to be quick, and you get such fantastic results. And I quite enjoy it. I find it very therapeutic. Once I've made that decision, loaded it all up, I just go upstairs to my sewing room and quilt it out in a few hours, and takes away stress and tension, and you end up with a lovely result, really.
It's great, isn't it? Because, I mean, you've highlighted a few of the benefits of doing pantographs, which is, first of all, speed. The fact that you can get on and do it without having to think about each block. When you're doing custom quilting, you're really having to think about how the whole thing works as a whole, whereas more often than not, the quilts that we pantograph, it's about the piecing and about the design and getting it quilted for a charity quilt. There are different objectives than custom quilting. But what's fantastic is that the transformation from a pieced quilt to a quilted quilt is with the quilting, and it takes your eye all over the quilt. So just let's have a look. This design, I thought if we just hung, if you get one end and I'll get the other, we'll just hold this up so that people can see. That's it. So this one is, I think this is chai latte, isn't it?
It is, indeed.
So chai latte is one that you can buy. We do it. It's a golden threads design. And it's quite a deep design, isn't it?
Yes,
so
it's quite dense, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And it takes surprisingly longer to quilt out than you think.
Yes.
But it's a really, really fun quilt to do, actually. I love doing this one because it's a variation on a meander. And a meander is really one of the first things that you learn to do.
That's right.
And I think when you've been taught a simple design and you're okay at doing it, you think, oh, I can't just do this. I must move on. I must do something a little bit more intricate or interesting. So this one is great because you don't have to stay completely on the line. I know you'll explain that later. There's a sort of freedom in being able to do it, and yet the guide is there.
Yes.
And so the end result can be really lovely.
It's about consistency, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
If we just move closer to the camera, I think if we hold it up like from there, if you get that size, that's it. That's great. And we just hold there for a second. Hopefully people can see that design a bit closer up. Okay, so that's chai latte. So this is, the next one is the green one, I think. If I put this at the back here, if you pull out that green one. So same block design. It's a really effective design, isn't it? I'm thinking about the actual piecing.
Oh, this, I know, it's lovely, isn't it?
It's really good.
Yeah, this is what do they call it? It's like a block of the month.
Yeah.
The quilts for care leavers do.
Great.
And so they put out instructions, and everybody all over the country just make green blocks and send it to one person.
Right.
And then they put it together.
Brilliant.
And they can sometimes get over 50 quilts out of one block
block drive,
as they call it.
Yes.
So it does mean that as a quilter, you tend to get 10 quilts that are all pretty much the same.
Yeah, which is where actually having a different quilting design comes in, doesn't it? Because it does transform it. And here you've used bow tie, I think.
I have. Now, this was my very first successful pantograph.
Okay.
The machine comes with a pantograph, which is a lovely pantograph, but as a beginner, I found it really difficult.
Yes.
I just couldn't quilt that hook to my satisfaction.
Yeah.
And it's all about learning how to control your machine, really. And so it occurred to me that what I needed was short spaces to quilt, sort of start, quilt, stop.
Yes.
And then go on to the next bit. And this design definitely gave you that, because each, even the circle or the curve, the arc here is quite a short arc.
Yes.
This one's a little bit more of a circle, but they're achievable quite early on.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favourite designs because it's quick to do, it's not too dense, and you get such good success from it.
You absolutely do.
You're really a beginner.
Yes, and it was interesting for the Quilt Your Own Quilt Day that this design was picked, and it was one that we used for the practice.
Yes.
One of the first ones they did, and it really did give a lot of confidence.
Yes.
So your learning on this was carried out with the other people too. That those short distances rather than a very long bit, which can be intimidating, and you end up holding your breath, not blinking your eyes, standing in one spot and forgetting to move on if you're not careful. Yeah. Whereas this would actually enable you to stop frequently.
Yes.
So very, very good advice on picking a design that's going to be easy as a beginner. And this one is done by Urban Elements, isn't it?
Yes, so that's right.
We can basically download it and print it out.
Yes.
And then we just put all the things together. We'll show you that on the next section.
They've got thousands of designs
on
their website.
We love it.
Just choose one, download it, and it's instant. You don't have to wait for it to be...
Let's take it a little closer. We'll just show that quilted out so that hopefully you can see that there. And of course the backs look great as well, don't they? It just gives lovely textured back as well. So
I think there's something lovely about an edge-to-edge design, actually.
Yeah.
And all over.
It's very satisfying, isn't it?
I think
to
the
finish.
custom quilting, which is very heavy, are best suited to wall hanging.
Yes.
Where you can really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and this one is part of the block drive.
This is another one of my favourite ones because
this is great.
So fast, and I think it looks lovely. Yeah, this one's called Leafage.
Leafage, yes.
I know that Pinhole sell this one. That's where I got it from.
Yes.
And it's not too dense, and it's just a lovely flow. So once you start to feel better with your machine, you can just doing a quick zip and back in again and out. It's
back in.
Really quite.
That's nice.
Satisfying.
Yeah, I can see how that would be good.
Lovely flow.
Yes.
And encourages you to get faster, really.
Yeah.
So that can be done in just an hour or two, really.
Yes.
One this size, anyway. But obviously, because the design's so big, it would be nice if this design was done in a smaller.
It would. I was thinking that.
Yeah.
That this is actually quite a deep design.
Yeah.
For some people who've got maybe other smaller machines, this would be quite. You wouldn't be able to do two in one row. Yes.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to do two without moving on. Should we just move it forward and?
Smaller quilt.
So that's leafage.
It'd be nice if you had it in a different size.
It would.
Yeah.
It's a really good point.
It's a nice one.
Yeah, so getting the right size of design for the quilt is part of your choice, part of your thought process. When you're looking at a quilt, you've got to be thinking scale, you're thinking about the thread colour, and you're thinking about how it's going to work with the blocks that are in the quilt. So, okay, let's talk about this one.
Now, this quilt is one that was made by the Comberton Quilters.
Yes.
And I should think 99% of this fabric
Beautiful.
came from Georgie Hodgson.
Oh, Georgie, who might well be watching this.
Yes. She presented me with a box, in fact more than a box, and it had 2.5-inch squares, masses of 2.5-inch squares in it.
I have one of those boxes.
So Susan very kindly took that away. That was Susan.
Oh, good job, Susan.
Came up with this.
I love the design. So you've got like a little 9-patch and then a 12.
It's 16, isn't it?
Yeah,
well,
it's I'm thinking this is like So
that's a block. That's
your block's got that, hasn't it? Yeah. But it almost forms like a little 9-patch in the set. It's a really lovely way of putting together a scrappy quilt.
Oh, it was
beautiful.
Absolutely, and that was created in a day.
Comberton quilters are definitely productive. Great.
So one day a month we get together and we just. That was the
you don't just stitch. Obviously, we know there's a bit of chatting going on, but but it's productive chat and okay.
Then, this is another one of your pantographs.
Is this Feather Me? Yeah, this is Feather Me.
This is a nice traditional one actually, and I have seen this design in different gauges because I did that on a Christmas stocking. A very traditional Christmas stocking, and it looked fabulous. And I did it with gold thread.
Right.
When I did it on the Christmas stocking.
I think we do it in 2 sizes. Feather Me comes, I think, in 6 and 9, something like that. If we flip it round, you can actually see the design really well, can't you?
You can see it far better from the back.
Yeah. So there we go.
Quite traditional, but it's
It's beautiful. It fills with the wadding incredibly well. So it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Love that one. Good job. And so, Pauline, one of the things about pantographs that you mentioned earlier was the confidence and the practice on your machine. So the next quilt really, this is the next progression, isn't it?
So, yes, I'm sure that people will identify with this. When I first bought my machine, I thought all I needed to do was to buy a machine and I was going to be an award-winning quilter instantly.
That, of course,
didn't happen.
Okay.
So I felt a bit despondent initially.
Right.
And certainly bow ties helped me. And I could not have done something like this originally.
No.
So having done 3 pantographs in a row, I thought, I'm not going to do another one. And I put this quilt on. I thought, I'll just do an all-over pattern. So this is completely free motion. But it's definitely influenced by the pantographs.
Yes.
Because there are elements that I started to learn, especially the sort of circles. And then adding in a leaf.
Yes.
But keeping the idea of a meander across the quilt, going down the quilt.
Yeah.
And then I think I added a flower somewhere as well, just for something different. And,
you've got your this bit here with the leaf.
That's right.
And then
I think in the corner there's a bit of a flower.
Is it
your
flower somewhere? I
corner?
remember seeing it on.
No, it's
when
not
we were talking about
I've lost it. It's gone.
Here. Is that it? No, it's the leaf. But it's
so it was doing the double circles.
Your circles are beautiful.
Well,
I mean, look at that.
That one worked pretty well. Just as well.
Right in the middle of the right in the middle of the
pretty
quilt.
well.
Yeah.
I was saying to you earlier, I did a pantograph for somebody at one of my quilt groups, and she had a chicken right in the middle of it, and I decided to do a sort of swirl, and it was a pantograph, and it was a big S-shaped swirl, and I just put it on. I didn't measure where I was starting. I had no idea where it was going to happen. And when I took the quilt off, the swirl came right down where the wing of the chicken would be, and a little circle around its eye. It was absolutely perfect. It was amazing. It really enhanced that block. It was just happy. Well, hopefully the rest of the quilt as well. But,
happy, was it Happy Chances or something like that? Yeah.
So definitely doing that sort of thing, the confidence came from doing the pantographs because you learn to control your machine.
That's the thing, isn't it? Control of the machine, whether you're right or left-handed, and whether you have one dominant hand and the other acts as a brake, whatever the technique is, you're going to get better at it by doing pantographs.
Yes.
So that's the key thing. You're going to, in the process, learn more about your tension and all of this other stuff. So, it's a really good place to start. Yeah. So we are going to show you next how we do pantographs and how we set it up. So thank you for going through all the quilts, and well done all the charity quilts, because we held a lovely charity day here, didn't we? And we did over 70 quilts in 2 days.
Yes,
it was more than one day.
It was such fun. Yeah. The quiltathon, we called it.
The quiltathon. Yeah. And what I got out of that as well was that some of our quilters were relatively new, and skills were passed from one person to another. And there was an awful lot of people learning at that quiltathon. It would be lovely to run something similar, maybe not on quite such a big scale, but no, it was a great day, so a couple of days. All right.
It was lovely.
Let's go and do a pantograph.
Okay.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, what is a pantograph? For some of you who already know, we can also give you an insight in how to set this up. We're going to show you how we actually stitch out. But for those of you who don't know what a pantograph is, the pantograph is the actual design that's printed onto paper, either as a roll or you can stick it together like the one we have here. This is the Abundant Leaves design that one of our customers used on our Quilt Your Own Quilt Day. Now, the reason that this works and how a long arm works is that we've got a machine that's sitting on a carriage. The carriage, the free motion carriage, works in 360 degrees by the fact that it's got wheels that go front back, and it's also got wheels that go side to side on the x-axis, so that's the y and that's the x, and that enables us to get really fingertip control and enables us to, using a laser light, trace the design that's printed on the paper. And the stitch length is regulated because we've got what's called encoders on the carriage. This is one on the Y, and there's the same one or similar system on here. And that takes the physical movement of a rubberized wheel here, and it converts it into a digital pulse. And that digital pulse is sent by this wire to the brains of the machine, which is obviously a circuit board, and that then translates it into the machine, going faster or slower to keep the stitch length consistent. So our stitch regulated machines are an essential component of being able to do pantographs really easily. Plus, something like an Amara, this one's the 20-inch throat space machine, and that gives us up to about 15 inches, 14 or 15 inches that we can easily quilt and align. You wouldn't want to do much more than that. It gets a little bit more tricky when if you push it to the edges. We also use this foot, which is called the glide foot, and the glide foot is a plastic bowl foot. This one's glide foot 2. There's a later one called the glide foot 3. But this plastic bowl then just enables the needle to go on and off the quilt without getting caught on the edges of the quilt when we stitch the quilt down, I'll just show you on the top here, that edge, it is possible, if you're not careful, to get your foot caught, but the bowl foot helps that. So Pauline's just going to go through how we set the machine up, and I'm just going to move over to the other side, and we'll go through how we stitch a pantograph.
So what I'm going to do now is to stitch out this particular pantograph. So if you have a quick look at it, you'll see that there's a dark line here, and that's what I'm going to move my machine along. I'm going to keep the laser light on that dark line. So I'm going to go up here, back round, a loop, and create this leaf, and then into a hook and off onto the next one, and keep following it round. It's always a good idea to guide your eye along this line, practice it with your finger first so that you've got an idea of where you're going. You know what your route is. The machine will follow that line by keeping your eye on the laser. Now, having said that, what I think works best is if you have an idea of where that laser light is, but you're looking ahead of where you're going. So when my light is on a point, my eye is actually up here on the curve. And when I get to that curve, my eye is actually at the next point where I'm going to stop. And that gives you a much smoother finish. Mm-hmm. So that's really what it is. It's as simple as that. So would you like me to start quilting a little bit here?
The other thing I think we can point out, Pauline, is for alignment of the lines.
Yes.
There is a paler line, isn't there? So you can see that there. Mm-hmm. And so we're using that for moving up and moving on. That will be lined up with our stitch line that we did for the next row so that we get equidistant lines.
Yeah.
And
so
we'll show you.
What I tend to do is I use this first line as the line on the edge of my quilt. And then stitch this one out. Once you've stitched this one, and I know Liz has got a neat way of moving the light rather than the fabric, but just for the purposes of alignment, what I'll explain is that this point here corresponds to this point here. So when you've stitched all of this out, you will have that stitched out, and that will have been stitched out in the previous row.
Yes.
So when you're moving your machine on, or moving the quilt on, what you want to do is to move the quilt on so that the light will come down in a straight line, and you stop it on that corresponding
pale
line here. And then you can take your needle out and move it up to your next line on the trace, on the pantograph, and you know with confidence that the next line that you're going to stitch out is in the right place for the quilt.
Yes.
Because that's become the previous one.
It's a really good way of doing it. And that, I think it's a really good explanation for how we keep consistency between the rows. Lovely. Okay.
And the other thing is that you've got a similar thing at the top here.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to keep absolutely precisely on these lines, and you shouldn't really. You should allow the flow to come so that you don't get jagged stitches. But what you must avoid is to go as far up as this one here, because that's going to be your next row. That's the bottom of your next row up.
Yes.
The next little bit there. Okay?
Yeah, lovely.
So would you want me to stitch out a
Yes, you can go ahead and bring
just
up.
do a little bit.
Just show how we start.
So I'm going to start it here, so I can see by looking at that's the edge of my quilt top. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put my needle down, and then I'm going to go round the front of the machine to tie it off. So to bring that up again, and I know that this is where I'm going to do that again. That's where I want to start it. Do a tie off to make sure it's secure, and at the moment I'm off the edge. I'm imagining that my quilt top is here, so I'm just working at the edge of it. Do a tie off, and I tend to do just a little secure one so that I know it's not going to unravel as I start.
Yeah, I think it's important to say, I mean, this is a demonstration piece of fabric, and what Pauline said is that where she would normally start it would be in the wadding and backing.
Yeah.
And we'd have secured the quilt top to the backing and wadding using a straight line or a wiggly line down the sides as well. Yeah. Okay.
So you'll see that I don't keep absolutely precisely to the lines, but my aim is to get as close to it as possible. So following the black line, trying to look ahead so that I get a smoother curve. A little pause when you come to a point. And on to the next. I'll just stitch out the next leaf for you. And all I'm doing is following, and as you can see there, I missed the actual line, but you won't notice that on the quilt when you're finished. And pause at a convenient point.
Yeah.
And that's really all there is to it, to a pantograph. The important thing is to stop and position yourself so that you're comfortable, that you're not holding on to the handlebars for dear life, but that you're just guiding the machine in the right direction.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, isn't it? Because it's not a white knuckle ride, and you do need to keep breathing. You do need to keep blinking your eyes, and you shouldn't be too close to where you're stitching. So I'm just going to walk around the front.
So
I knew I was going to.
I'll just carry on and do the next one.
Yeah.
And the more practice, the faster you get at it. And so it goes.
Lovely. Great. We'll soon have our quilt finished, Pauline.
Right, so these are some of the designs that we've used, certainly that I've used, and this is the bow tie design that was my saviour really, and that got me going with the pantographs. And you can see how clear it is. You can buy it from Urban Elements and download it, and this is how it comes. So you print it off as one sheet, and then you match it up, and you stick them together to create one nice long pantograph. So match it up. So that was the first one. Then I moved on to one called Basil, which was more curvy rather than the little short straight lines of the bow tie. I thought this was a little bit more challenging, especially this longer line here going round, but I thought that was quite nice, quite easy to do. Now, because this is quite a short, quite a narrow width pantograph, you can stitch out 2 rows at a time without having to move your quilt on the frame, and this is how it's done. So in fact, if I put this one out, it would be easier. Okay. That's it. So your machine will have been set, and you will have been following this line here.
That's right.
Okay, there. So what you start to imagine is that the row that you have just quilted out now has to become this row, which has been done. And you can do that by just moving the laser light to that point there.
So you've now moved it to this, because it's quite hard to see on the
Yeah.
screen. We've now moved it to this one. So the equivalent point just
So
there.
the laser always represents the position that the needle is in on the quilt. So in essence now, my needle is now positioned here, which is the bottom row, which has been quilted. So this now needs to be quilted. So all I have to do is to move the machine up to where I'm going to start my next row. And I'm ready to do the second row by following that dark line all the way along to the end. And by the time you've done 2 rows, you will need to move the quilt, roll the quilt on the frame.
That's it.
That's it. So it's simplicity itself. It does feel a little bit complicated at first, but you soon get the hang of that, and you get such good results from doing a pantograph. And there are so many exciting designs. This is one that we showed you. This is the Feather Me one, which is a really lovely traditional design. Love doing that one because there's lots of feathers in that. It's the start of doing feathers.
Yes.
And lovely hooks. As I'm quilting out, I tend to sort of see other patterns in them. So this one, for example, looks a bit like a fishtail to me.
Yes.
So I'd be coming around here and I'm going and into the fishtail and out round to the flower.
Brilliant.
All this goes on in my head as I'm doing it. So I sort of make up rhymes as I'm working.
Yes.
This is another lovely one, especially for children, I think. Nice stars and loops and circles. And I understand that it was done on a lovely Christmas quilt. So it's a nice Christmas, really sort of celebration type of design, this one. And as I say, there are literally thousands of them. Now, not only can you do an edge-to-edge with a pantograph, but you could, for example, quilt one block. So you could have a design for a wreath or a more complicated design that you're not confident enough to do completely free motion. And I've done certainly several of those by positioning my needle in the center of the block, positioning the laser in the center of the corresponding pantograph and quilting it out, and it comes out beautifully.
Brilliant.
So it's a really easy way of doing it.
Again, it's going to give you the confidence, give you the consistency, because you might have that same block design all over your quilt. And then it just, and so it goes. Yep. So some of the key things here are really the speed at which you can get going.
Couple of hours and...
Yes. Yeah. And that was borne out with our Quilt Your Own Quilt Day. I know you weren't here for those 3 days, but gosh, what was clear to me was, a couple of hours in, and our customers most of them had never handled a machine before, away they were going, doing bow tie, doing the stars or whatever. And then by the end of the day, they've quilted their own quilt. So we will definitely be running that day again. And for those people who are interested in a long arm, you don't have to go computerized right from the start. It can be something that you build up to. You might start with pantographs and then actually after a period of time end up getting a computerized or not. Some people stay with the pantographs.
As I have,
as you have.
I haven't got onto the computerized bit yet.
Many of our customers use pantographs and quilt for others using pantographs. So thank you very much, Pauline, for telling us about your quilting, your quilt group, beautiful charity quilts that you make, and good luck at Festival of Quilts. And you will see Pauline on our stand at Festival of Quilts as well.
Certainly.
So, great.
Look forward to seeing everybody.
Lovely.
Good.
Thanks,
Thank
Pauline.
you, Liz.
Thank you.